So why it's so hard to forgive? That's the question we've been dealing with all week. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. So today we conclude our discussion of why is it so hard to forgive. Excuse me a minute. My cat is bothering me. There, okay. So, I guess he has other plans. So, what makes it so hard to forgive? Well, we've discussed the factors contributing to the obstacle to forgiving. First of all, we discussed on Monday the ugly history behind the powerful negative force field that strongly influences the people in the developed nations and promotes the negative mindset that seems to drive our lives into the ground. So that was the history, the extreme violence that came down from the mountain tribes, through the mountain tribes into the lowlands and the peaceful peoples, and it's continued to get worse from there. Then we briefly explored the soul-crushing violence that humans have inflicted upon each other for centuries and have altered our DNA to the point that violence became our default behavior when faced with conflict rather than peace, compassion, and forgiveness. Next, we explored our generally negative state of mind that has pushed us into the condition of chronic stress. You know, the constant anger, anxiety syndrome that we seem to live on. That internal anger that permeates our society makes us suspicious of everything, suspicious of everybody. Since stress turns off the prefrontal cortex, rational thinking becomes more difficult and emotions seem to rule. That's a lot what's happening today. Emotions are ruling. Rational thought is out the window. So the idea of forgiveness has become a very alien concept. Then yesterday, we took a good look at the fact that we don't even know what forgiveness is. We have so many concepts, so many misconceptions about what it is and what it means and how it's done that it's become too much to even deal with. So that's where we've come so far. The extreme violence over the centuries, that has altered our DNA and put us into a state of chronic stress now that we're ruling and negotiating through emotion rather than rationality. So let's move on to the next step. Before we do that, let me ask you to please click on the thumbs up button, which is below the video. And if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Today is Thursday, February 4th. One of our viewers asked me to make sure to put the date in because she gets lost when she's reviewing the videos. So today is Thursday, February 4th, 2021. So in addition to that, I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions. If you're viewing this live on Thursday, February 4th at 3 p.m., then you can use the chat box on the right side of the screen. Otherwise, if you're viewing this at any other time, then you're in the replay mode. So please use the comment section below this video. Now, back to work. So what's another contributing factor as to why it is so hard for us to give? We don't know how. We don't know how to forgive. There is more to forgiveness than just saying, I forgive you. Actually, there is a process. There's a process involved to reach forgiveness. And one major element that is needed in that process is time. T-I-M-E, time. We need time to put some distance between us and the painful event that calls for forgiveness. Time gives us the opportunity to look at the situation without emotion, or at least with less emotion to cloud our vision. Time gives us the ability to re-examine the event to see what really happened. Not what our hurt feelings told us was happening, but what really happened. Time gives us the opportunity to see and evaluate our contribution to the event and to reveal how much we secretly blame ourselves for what happened. Secretly blame ourselves for what happened. Then we can go about the preliminary process of forgiving. What are you doing? So you see, just as we've learned that you can't really love someone else until you learn to love yourself, you can't forgive someone else until you've learned to forgive yourself. Yeah, we must forgive ourselves. Point taken. Forgive ourselves. We must learn to forgive ourselves. I've listened to many stories and outrage and pain over the injustices that have been inflicted by one person onto another or one group onto another. And in all that listening, I've discovered that the person who has been hurt through insult, injury, or injustice quite often bears malice against himself or herself because of what happened. This malice shows up in the form of judgment against themselves for their involvement in the event. They say to themselves, it was my own fault, or how could I have let him get away with that, or how could I have let myself be treated like that, or how could I have not seen this coming? How could I have allowed myself to stay in that situation, or be in that situation, or walk into that situation? The self-blaming, self-shaming, self-destructive judgment can go on and on and on and take on many forms. But the bottom line is that when we are injured or insulted or taken advantage of by someone else, we often blame ourselves. We often blame ourselves for it as much as we blame the other person. And then, to make matters worse, we internally punish ourselves for it, which takes the injury to a whole nother level by piling on and beating ourselves up. The result is we've got a double whammy to live with. One, the original pain inflicted by the event, and two, the added on pain inflicted on ourselves by our regrets. So we need to learn to forgive ourselves. We need to learn to forgive ourselves before we can even think about forgiving anybody outside of ourselves. Unforgiveness is the gift that keeps on giving. Remember, unforgiveness appears in the form of shame and anger, resentment, judgmental attitudes, fear, all of which create or perpetuate chronic stress. You remember what I've told you about chronic stress. Chronic stress can lead to high blood pressure because the stress causes your heart to beat faster. But your muscles are tighter, so your veins are being constructed by your tense, tight muscles. Your overworked heart can develop heart disease. Or how about your liver? The extra glucose, also known as sugar, released by your liver can promote diabetes. The higher levels of anxiety can overstimulate your nervous system and bring on nerve diseases and psychological disorders. And the hormones that are generated by your stressed out endocrine glands, they create a delicious cocktail of hormones that tumors love to consume as they grow larger in your body. That's maybe a reason why a significant percentage of cancer patients have unforgiveness issues. According to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, about 61% of cancer patients have unforgiveness issues. So, let me direct your attention to the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of FDR, the 32nd President of the United States. Eleanor says, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Did you hear that? Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. That was Eleanor Roosevelt. So with this self-blame, this self-shaming, this unforgiveness of yourself, you are giving yourself permission to make yourself feel worthless, to make yourself feel like a piece of crap. I'd like you to do something for me here as we talk about this unforgiveness, as we talk about the way you treat yourselves. I'd like you to say to yourself, whenever you start thinking about yourself in a negative way, permission denied. Seriously, please say, permission denied. Stop giving yourself permission to do this to yourself. Permission denied. You're too precious to mistreat yourself like that. Permission denied. So you did something that you're not proud of. Okay. Forgive yourself anyway. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You know what? You might have done something that you thought was stupid, but my question is, would you do it again today now that you know better? Would you do the same thing today now that you know better? Now that you know why you did it, now that you know what the consequences were. Did you learn from it? I think you did. It was a lesson, not a curse. It was a teaching moment, not a death sentence. Remember the words of Terry Pratchett. Wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes is often a result of a lack of experience. So the value of your experience is tremendous. Take advantage of the value of your experience. Take advantage of what you have done and what you have learned from that experience. So, let's talk about forgiving yourself now. There are a number of techniques, but let me share just one with you. To forgive yourself. It's time to forgive yourself. So, get into a comfortable position so you can relax and let your body relax. Get in a place where your body can really relax, where it doesn't have to keep you safe, where it doesn't have to carry you. Let your body relax in a place that is quiet and safe. And after you are relaxed, remind yourself of the serenity prayer. You know the serenity prayer. God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you don't like the word God, then replace it with whatever higher power you choose to acknowledge. Infinite intelligence is one I often use. This sets your mind up to approach the issue with some emotional distance. Emotional distance. Emotional distance. Emotional distance is critical because if you get caught up in the emotion of the memory, it puts you right back in the moment of the pain, and it locks you into it even further. So you need to get that distance. That's why time is so important. Now, imagine yourself rising, leaving your body behind, rising over a long railroad track. And as you look down over this railroad track, you can see in one direction, as you begin to notice, there are stations all along the route. Now, the stations of the past events in your life are clear and defined, and the stations in the future are kind of blurry because they haven't happened yet. So allow yourself now, you're drifting over this railroad track and seeing all the stations. Some of those stations are brighter than others. Some of those stations are dark and ugly, uh, maybe strong dark red color or green color, waves of unsettling colors mixed in. These are the spots that need forgiving. Now allow yourself to float over these stations and watch what's happening in them as if you were watching a movie. Not that you're involved, but as if you're watching a movie. Observe from a distance. Observe the mistakes that were made, the miscommunication that happened, the unrealistic expectations that were in effect. And while you watch the event play out, notice the pitfalls and how one mishap led to another. Notice how fear played a role in what happened. Notice how fear pushed you into saying and doing things that you wouldn't do today. You would not do them today. You wouldn't, because you know better. So let it go. Watch the event. Allow the emotions that were a part of that event to drain away. As they drain away, they remove the color from the event. All those reds and dark greens, they fade away until it becomes like a old black and white movie. And as that emotion drains away from the picture, I want you to repeat these words to yourself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I now know that what I was doing, that I was doing the best I could at the time, and I forgive myself. I let myself off the hook because I have learned the lesson that I was there for, that was there for me, and I now know better. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. And I now accept the peace that passes understanding because I know that I am loved and protected and forgiven by infinite intelligence, expressing in me as me. I am forgiven. I am forgiven. Yeah. Once you let yourself off the hook, once you've forgiven yourself, once you understand that you no longer have to carry that burden on your shoulders, you no longer have to carry that burden in your mind and in your heart. Let it go. Let it go. Forgive yourself. It's okay. It's okay. So after you've forgiven yourself and you begin to build a foundation of self-forgiveness within yourself, you will find that your victim mindset is going to fade away. You begin to see the incredible power that is yours by birthright, because you are a blessed child of Mother, Father, God. You are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. Now, I recommend that you read again the book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. Remember the point in the Four Agreements was that don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. Now, in reading the Four Agreements and getting that strongly fixed in your mind, not taking anything personally, forgiving yourself, with that foundation firmly set in your being, you'll begin to understand and actually express the truth. And the truth is, your power is in your peace. Your power is in your peace. And you need to understand that. Your power is in your peace. And remember, as your peace grows stronger, all that is opposed to my peace will be changed, or it will be removed from my experience. all that is opposed to my peace will be changed, or it will be removed from my experience with the power of that knowledge, with the understanding of how powerful you really are. Yes, how powerful you really are. Then you know what? You won't need to forgive, because there will be nothing to forgive, because nobody can harm you after that. Nobody can harm you. Not without your permission. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so we may become as spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. And as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. And so, here we are at the end of another week. This is Thursday. We'll get back together on Monday. I have enjoyed speaking with you of these last few days on why forgiveness is so hard to do. I hope that it has helped. I hope that it has given you insight into the process of forgiveness and how important it is to forgive yourself. That is the key. That is the key. That is what's going to make it work. Forgive yourself, and all else will fall into line. Believe that. You have a great week, a great weekend. I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.